Alright, for today's class we're going to introduce anatomy and physiology. We're going to have two components associated with today's class. The first component for our first group will be to introduce this topic, and we're going to do that from an inquiry-based standpoint. We're going to take a look at this picture. Obviously this picture has a young man doing a single handstand on a beach, something that's very challenging. Some things and some functions and forms within this individual's body allows them to be able to do that. Structurally, physiologically, and from an anatomy standpoint, things exist from organ systems that allow him to do this incredible feat, this very challenging and physically demanding feat. So let's take a second and read along at the bottom here to gain that understanding and to introduce this topic. Every day we perform a balancing act of sorts, an amazingly complex performance. It goes on continuously, and every part of our physical being is involved, from individual atoms to the largest organs and organ systems. Injury, disease, and other stresses, whether they occur inside us or outside, threaten this delicate balance. Adjusting to these changes is crucial, for if the body loses its balance, it may plunge out of control into dysfunction and illness and even death. So what's that saying? It's saying that there's various functions and forms and structures and systems within your body that allows it to do amazing things, and this is just one of those cases. So we're going to take a minute, and this group's going to transition to another sheet. This sheet is in your note packet, and I'm going to walk you through it. When I'm done, I'd like you to start on it by yourself, and I'll be back and forth between this our office, our room, and the computer lab to provide support when needing. Okay, here we are back again. So we're talking about anatomy and physiology, chapter 1. We're introducing this topic. We saw in the previous slide a pretty unique picture, in that this individual was doing a handstand on one hand on a beach, something very challenging. But from an anatomy and physiological standpoint, we're trying to identify from an inquiry, asking questions and providing answers, what functions, what structures allow this individual to accomplish this very unique feat. So what I would like you to do, let's start from an inquiry standpoint on step 1. Let's read through step 1's directions together. Describe the body functions allowing this individual to accomplish this action within the picture. So what I'd like you to do, list 2 or 3 specific body functions, things that you already know about your body that would allow an individual to accomplish this. And in the description of these functions, these body functions, just provide 1 or 2 lines that describe what you know about them and what the purpose of those functions are within your body. From there, step 2, we're going to use a couple of our graphic organizers to help identify this relationship. So let's read through this together. Step 2. All physiological functions are performed by specific anatomic structures. These functions allow the same physical and mechanical principles that can be seen in the world at large. Choose 2 physiological functions and compare it to a physical and mechanical principle that exists in the world. So what you're going to do is you're going to take 2 of the body functions that have been identified in step 1 and place those under the function component of your T-chart. So we'll just say 1 and 2. Alright, and what I would like you to do is then take 2 aspects, 2 components from the everyday world. It could be physical, it could be mechanical, it could be anything. Something that relates, something that you could compare to one of these functions, to both functions. So that could be anything. We'll just put example 1, example 2. Alright? So we have our foundation. We have a function and some type of mechanical or physical principle that is associated with it. So we have 2 functions and 2 examples. And then let's create a relationship with this. What I'd like you to do is in this component, in this part of the circle, I'd like you to write both functions. And this component, this circle, I'd like you to write an example of each of the principles. And in the middle, I'd like you to very briefly, in just a few words, not even a sentence, what relationships exist between them that you can compare. How are they comparable? So I'd like you to do that for one example and one function, and then the following Venn diagram, I'd like you to take the same approach for your second function in principle. And then what I'd like you to do is choose a person next to you. Please don't leave your seat. Choose a person next to you and take a moment to compare what you've acquired and relate relationships back and forth, and just have a very quick discussion on what you found. Remember what we talked about in depth the other day. We talked about flexibility, and as a student, that flexibility requires you to own the educational process. This is an example of that. So I'd really like you to take part in this, own that process, own the end result, and to get something out of it. Thank you.